was Thomas Sankara? Was Sankara's pan-Africanist ideology ahead of the times? Did former Burkinabe President Blaise Compaoré betray Thomas Sankara? Can the current interim government free the Burkinabe from years of suppression? What time is it? It's question time. Hello and welcome to Question Time. My name is Mpho Tsedu. The name Thomas Sankara is somehow synonymous with the revolution in Africa. Africa's Che Guevara, renowned pan-Africanist, author and feminist. These are some of the words used to describe the late former Burkina Faso leader Thomas Sankara. Mysteriously assassinated 28 years ago, Sankara had become popular within African politics, with many of his admirers equating his ideology to the likes of the late Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, Samora Machel, and other giants of the struggle for a free continent. His successor and widely accepted suspect in his murder, Blaise Compaoré, was one of the longest-serving presidents in Africa until he was forced to vacate his seat on 31st October 2014. All eyes are on the current Burkinabe interim government to restore civilian rule, as well as keeping the legacy of Sankara alive. Following the uprisings that led to the exile of Compaoré, Burkina Faso is currently on a 12-month transition to democracy. My guest today is the special advisor to the Speaker of Parliament of the transitional government of Burkina Faso, Isaka Traoré. Mr. Traoré, welcome to Question Time.
Thank you, Mr. Mpho.
Now, firstly, let's talk about Sankara, because when the revolution to unseat President Compaoré from office started, or when it was unfolding, the name Sankara was shouted and sang all over the streets. So effectively, Sankara rose from the dead to come and unseat the man who is widely, suspected to have murdered him. Who was this man?
Well, thank you. To describe Thomas Sankara in quite a few times is a very hard thing to do. But what I can say, Thomas Sankara was a political activist who, since his young age, I've come across to get in touch and to be educated politically with certain left-wing parties in our country.
Yes.
When it was at the military high school. And from that perspective, he became a kind of special military person, officer, because he was not only focused on army issues, but he was also focused on ideology and politics. That's Thomas Sankara in one way. But for us, Burkinabes, who is Thomas Sankara is our leader who really cares for his country, who cares for his people, but most importantly, who cares for the whole African continent.
Yes.
You know, this is really to briefly summarize who is Thomas Sankara.
Yes.
And who also believe that nothing can happen in our countries if we dismiss and disregard the importance and the value of women in our daily life.
He, like you're saying, he seems to have influenced a lot of political movements on the continent. I mean, the African National Congress itself, there's actually a guerrilla combat gear, which is referred to as the Sankara outfit, which just shows you that this man somehow influenced the liberation movement on the continent, and particularly in South Africa as well. At the tender age, I mean, he died at 37.
Yeah, you know, mostly there is a lot of things about Sankara in South Africa, but most of people don't know.
Yes, just share with us.
When Sankara changed the name of our country from Ape Volta to Burkina Faso in August 1984, then the country turned from Ape Volta to Burkina Faso, meaning the country of upright men. And during this time, the first passport of Burkina Faso, the number 0001, was given to your late President Nelson Mandela.
In absence?
in absence. And he also gave this first passport of Burkina Faso to certain leaders of ANC who was in exile. But he also sent, a pack of Kalashnikovs to ANC to support the struggle of ANC for the freedom of the people of South Africa. So this is just to show you how Pan-Africanist the man was and how concerned he was about the struggle for self-determination and for freedom.
But this history which is not very much known, all over the continent, that the fact that you're saying, the first passport was basically, given to Madiba, although he was not there,
yes.
But symbolically it would have said, we identified it with the struggle of the people of South Africa.
Yes, at that time, as you know, the geopolitics was not easy to handle for most of the people and the countries that were really supporting ANC, and this was kind of backdoor diplomacy for Thomas Sankara and his government. But I do acknowledge with you that at some point it was really necessary for us in Burkina Faso to let people know, outside of Burkina Faso, what the government of Thomas Sankara did for ANC. But unfortunately, it was not really released as a big information for African people to know about it.
But then why would it have been suppressed? Even after Madiba was released, these are some of the things that we should have known. Burkina Faso should have come out to say, we've been with you and here we are. Here is your passport, finally, Madiba.
Good your question, because when Madiba was released, who was in power in our country? It was Blaise Compaoré. And what Blaise Compaoré did, he did assassinate Thomas Sankara on the 15th of October 1987. And this is one of the main reasons why Madiba never visited Burkina Faso until he passed away. Because this is something that he couldn't accept.
Okay.
So you will never expect the murder of Thomas Sankara to come out and say, look, the man I assassinated gave you a passport, It doesn't make politically a sense for him. And the Sankaris who was in the opposition, we don't have this opportunity to speak to the media, the mass media, to the world media, to say, okay, here was the situation. Now, I think things are changing.
Yes.
We have a new political momentum in our country, and so we have more space to explain a lot of things. And what I'm saying, more and more people will learn about what really happened during Thomas Sankara's rule, what he did to support countries like South Africa, Polisario, and other movements around the world.
Okay. When you come into South Africa, do you feel that Sankara's spirit still lives here in South Africa? Well, there are berets, all over.
Yesterday I was lucky enough to visit Lily's Leaf in Rivonia.
Yes.
And when I went there yesterday afternoon, visiting the farm and the place which was supposed to be the underground headquarters of ANC,
Yes.
This is like what at some point we did in my country. Even Sankaras, before becoming the president of Burkina Faso, they were underground military officers, leftists, who worked together. I told you at the beginning that he was instructed and educated politically by left-wing parties.
Yes.
And this left-wing party was also an underground party at that time. So to me, being in South Africa, 28 years after the murder of Thomas Sankara, the first thing I see is that his dreams come true, because South Africa is free now. There is no more apartheid. And the fact that I'm still linked with, activists, political militant in South Africa, the discussion keeps going on, and I can still feel, this ideal of Thomas Sankara in most of the people I discuss with, in most of the South Africans I met, and they are still revolutionary people and looking forward for South Africa to move forward. So,
okay. Hold the thought there. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we'll continue our discussion. This question time, please don't go away.
Get your issue of Evoke magazine at sabcevoke.co.za or download the app on iOS or Android and immerse yourself in our world.
Prominent names have been mentioned at the Arms Deal Commission, among them Winnie Madikizela Mandela, Tony Blair and Tony Georgiades.
Terry Crawford Brown has been making the loudest noise. From taking the president to the highest court in the land to grilling witnesses in the first phase of the hearings.
Commissioners have adopted a tough stance with witnesses, compelling them to back up claims and produce evidence.
Do you know those MPs? I know some of them, but really, sir, I would not think it appropriate to disclose their names publicly.
Your World, weekdays at 9 p.m.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest in studio, Isaka Traore, Special Advisor to Burkina Faso Speaker of Parliament now. Mr. Traore, welcome back. Michel Kafando says we need to reopen the assassination matter of Thomas Sankara. Why?
Well, because since 1997, there was a complaint that was filed in the judiciary system of our country against the murder of Thomas Sankara by his widow and his orphans. And since that time, nothing was really done by the government of Burkina Faso to give justice to the widow and the orphans.
Yes.
To the extent that the lawyers were obliged to go to the UN.
Okay.
And it was at the UN that the lawyers of Sankara's family asked that we get an exhume of his body to do some DNA tests to make sure that, first of all, the body in the grave is really the body of Thomas Sankara. So what His Excellency, the President of the Transition, Mr. Michel Kafando, said is, okay, from now on, this issue of Sankara's case in justice is not anymore the problem of the justice. Is going to be the problem of my government. This is what he said on the first day of his appointment. And so for us, we take him on his words. And that's why people keep pushing for justice for Thomas Sankara. But unfortunately, the way the issue is actually currently handled is not really the good way to deal with that case. Because the governor of the transition said that, okay, we are giving the permission to the family to go and exhume the body of Sankara. So, as you know, in terms of judicial process, this cannot be done that way. The family filed a complaint, decade ago, against the state of Burkina Faso. So, if you want to exhume the body, it's not the family who is going to exhume the body. It has to be done to the judicial process, you know. You have the lawyers of the government of Burkina Faso, you have the lawyers of the family, and the government of Burkina Faso should identify a well-known laboratory that will do the exhume of the body and do the DNA process. You cannot just ask to the family to go and exhume the body and find a laboratory what will be the DNA process. You know, so that's a little bit a confusion right now in our country, and I know that the family is not happy about that, and ourselves, we are not happy about it.
Now, former President Compaoré says, facts are known. I have nothing to hide. Why is he widely accepted as or perceived as the suspect?
Because first of all, we have a saying in French, is who is the beneficiary of the murder, who is the beneficiary of the crime? In the afternoon of October 1987, the 15th of October 1987, who became the president of Burkina Faso? It's Blaise Compaoré. So he's the first person who benefit of it. Therefore, he knows what happened because he used to say that, no, you know, I was not aware of it. It's just some military guys who decided to go and kill Thomas Sankara. Come on. No one does that in the army. the army is the institution where discipline is at the top of everything, you know. The top-down soldier will never take this responsibility on his own to go and kill somebody. No way. It's been that some top officers organized the strategy and the operations, and the soldiers went and killed Thomas Sankara. That's the first thing. The second thing is, did said in some books that when the coup was done, he went to the place where Sankara was assassinated. He saw the body, and he was so disappointed when he heard that Thomas Sankara was planning to kill him. You know, all these facts made us think that he is the one who organized the assassination of Thomas Sankara. So therefore, he has to go to justice and pay for it.
Okay.
You know, you cannot just kill somebody like this and get away with it. No way.
Did you organize the uprising against former President Compaoré?
The people of Burkina Faso, this is very important. I used to say that the people of Burkina Faso, since the 16th of October 1987, organized themselves against the rule of Mr. Blaise Compaoré. So this uprising is a long process. It's not a one-day process. It's not an overnight process. No single group in Burkina Faso cannot say, we are the one who organized the uprising. We are the ones who overthrew Thomas Sankara. It's not true. You know, it has been a lot of process in my country. I was speaking about the 16th of October 1987, when, you know, in the aftermath of Sankara's assassination, most of the people, thousands of people, went to the cemetery in Dagnoen to really pay tribute to Thomas Sankara. That was just one day after his assassination.
He was buried as a pauper, though.
Exactly. And then you remember in the 90s, sorry, there was this movement in Francophone Africa for more democracy and for national conferences and so on and so forth. At that time, again, in Burkina Faso, there was a real true and mobilization of people against the rule of Blaise Compaoré.
Who is behind the mobilization?
Most of the time, it's political parties, and then civil society organization and activists join the protest. Okay. It has always been like this. Even in 2014, it was like this.
Yes.
Those who organize, you know, the whole uprising is the political parties, the opposition. And then civil society organization like us, we joined the movement to say we don't need any more Blaise Compaoré. But before that, as I was saying, remember 2011, there was a problem in Burkina Faso in 2011 when this young high school boy was killed in Koudougou, in a police station. Then there was a revolution, you know, from the high school people, and then it went to the army, and so on and so forth. And then 3 years later, the uprising just overthrew Blaise Compaoré. So to me, it's a long process, and it's the struggle of all the people of Burkina Faso.
Now, who takes the credit, though? Now that Compaoré is gone, who then took the decision? We need Michel Kafando to lead us.
Okay, so that's a very good question, because I was part of the whole process of designation of the president of the transition. Before we reached the stage of designing the president of the transition, we discussed, we gathered together to draft a charter of the transition.
Okay.
And this process was almost for 1 week.
Okay.
You know, to draft this charter of the transition. And at the end of the day, when we adopted the charter of the transition, because within the charter of the transition, it says that we will have a college of designation for the president of the transition. And the criteria to become the president of the transition was very clear. And we had 3 components. Civil society organization, we have our candidate. We have the political parties, they have their candidate. You have the army people who have their candidate. It's only the religious and the traditional chief who said, no, we don't want to have any candidate in that. We want to be back. So if there is any problem, we can come in as wise people to advise you.
Okay. I want you to hold it there. Let's take a quick break. This is question time. Please don't go away.
Prominent names have been mentioned at the Arms Deal Commission, among them Winnie Madikizela Mandela, Tony Blair and Tony Georgiades.
Terry Crawford Brown has been making the loudest noise. From taking the president to the highest court in the land to grilling witnesses in the first phase of the hearings.
Commissioners have adopted a tough stance with witnesses, compelling them to back up claims and produce evidence.
Do you know those MPs? I know some of them, but really, sir, I would not think it appropriate to disclose their names publicly.
Your World, weekdays at 9 p.m.
Issaka Traoré is my guest today, and he is the special advisor to Burkina Faso Speaker of Parliament, the interim structure that is. So, fact of the matter, though, is that there were a lot of political chancers there who wanted to jump on the bandwagon. Some had actually declared themselves presidents.
Yes. So then, as I said, the three components, at every component were supposed to have three candidates.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, we gather with 23 people as the college of designation for the president.
Okay.
And we started the whole process from, it was 6:30 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
It was 16th of November, 6:30 p.m. to the 17th of November, 4 a.m. in the morning. Just to give you an idea of how long it was to go through it, to go through the several candidate CVs, review it, do interviews. We did interviews with, a guideline.
Okay.
So to come up at the end of the day with Mr. Kafando, who actually was the candidate of the army people.
Okay.
So it was not, somebody decided that it's going to be Kafando or not.
Okay.
It was based on the criteria on the charter, based on the interview guidelines, and 23 people have to come up at the end of the day and agree that this is the person we need to be the president of our transition.
The transition is to last 12 months. Yes. How far are you now?
Well, we are almost ending to the 4th month of our transition.
Mm-hmm.
And so it means we still have 8 months ahead to go.
Okay.
And so far, we can say we are doing well.
Okay. When are the elections?
October.
All right. And the reason you have this transitional government is for them to prepare for the elections, correct?
Not only, because that was a big debate when we drafted the charter of the transition, because for most of the political parties, their view and goal for this transition was just, the interim government was just to organize election. For us, civil society organization, we said no. If we overthrew Blaise Compaoré, it was because we did not have a true democracy in Burkina Faso.
Okay.
So before we go to elections, we need a lot of rules and laws that will really strengthen our democracy in Burkina Faso. So we cannot understand your point of view that just want to focus on elections. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have good rules, you don't have good laws, you don't have a good constitution, then there is a likelihood that we'll have somebody who will misbehave like Blaise Compaoré in the future. So we need to clear everything through the good laws before we go to the elections.
I see. So currently there's also a review of the laws of the country.
Yes, we are currently working on reviewing a lot of laws, mostly the electoral laws, the corruption law, the mining code, and we even have a National Reconciliation Commission who is also working on the institutional reform of some certain things in our country, among which, there is the constitution issue.
Yes, I was about to say that you inevitably have to deal with the judiciary as well.
The judiciary and the constitution.
Yes.
And on the judiciary side, you have a subcommittee on truth, justice, and reconciliation. And then we have a subcommittee on political reform, constitutional reform, and institutional reforms. And this subcommittee is supposed to work on the constitution.
Okay.
And right now, the debate in my country is, shall we go for a new constitution or shall we review the current one to have a good constitution?
Okay.
Big debate, because there is nothing said about it in the charter.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So
economically, Burkina Faso is not doing extremely well, and it's not necessarily because you are a poor country.
Definitely, you are right. You know, Burkina Faso used to be an agricultural country.
Yes.
But since 10 years ago, Burkina Faso is ranked now as a mining country. So it means we are not a poor country.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the economy of Burkina Faso was just held by a minority of people, a minority of families around Blaise Compaoré and his gang, to the extent that you have very few people who are very, very extremely rich,
okay,
and the majority of the people of Burkina Faso who are very poor. And in terms of economic policies, you know, it's all based on IMF and World Bank policies, which is not beneficial to the people of Burkina Faso. This is one of the challenges of our transition. What can you do economically in 12 months? Nothing.
Nothing.
To be honest.
Yeah.
And this is why when you look at the Charter of the Transition, we said there is less issues on economic matters on the transition. But also there is a weakness based on the fact that those who drafted ourselves, I was there, those who drafted this Charter of the Transition made a big mistake. Because there is no provision on how to get back the money, the public money that was still stolen by the people of Blaise Compaoré.
Yeah, but I mean, that's
justice.
For 12 months. But it's something that you can still rectify after the elections, wouldn't you?
Good. It can be rectified after the elections.
Or am I giving you a wrong advice here?
No, it's not a wrong advice. We are aware of it, but our main worries is, you know, politicians are politicians. Political parties, people. You never know the way they will behave when they have power. Right now, it was the uprising and then the transition. We are all talking about the same thing.
Yes.
We never know what they will do when they get in power. And you have the Sankaris, you have the Social Democrat, you have the liberal people, and you even have the underground communist parties. All people are here. So we don't know actually who is going to win the general election in October 2015.
Okay. Now, how much was stolen?
In terms of, there is no audit who can tell you, you know, this is actually the sum of money, the total amount of money that was stolen from the country.
How much is Compaoré worth?
The only thing I know, 3 to 4 weeks ago, it was released in the mass media that he withdrew 1,800 million CFA from the banks in Burkina Faso to Cote d'Ivoire.
Okay. But is he welcome back in Burkina Faso?
Well, we welcome him back because we want him to go on trial and explain to us why and how he killed Thomas Sankara. For that one, we want him to come back. We also want him to come back and give back the money to our people. So he's welcome to Burkina Faso.
Thank you very much, and wish you all the best and the people of Burkina Faso, by the way.
Thank you.
That was Question Time for today. A big thank you to my guest and to you for watching the show. We welcome your feedback via email, questiontime@sabc.co.za, our Twitter handle @questiontime24. You can also follow me on Twitter. Let's continue the discussion. From me and the rest of the crew, have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.
Zoom into Africa.